Anunnaki message published in a UFO magazine in 1958. A message from the Anunnaki, mankind in amnesia. We are already here among you. Some of us have always been here with you, yet apart from you, watching, and occasionally guiding you whenever the opportunity arose. However, our numbers have been increasing in preparation for the further step in the development of your planet, a step of which you are not yet aware. We have been confused with the gods of many world religions, although we are not gods, but your fellow creatures, as you will learn directly before many more years have passed. You will find records of our presence in the mysterious symbols of ancient Egypt, where we made ourselves known in order to accomplish certain ends. Our principal symbol appears in the religious art of your present civilization and occupies a position of importance upon the great seal of your country, the United States of America. I guess they mean the pyramid. It's been preserved in certain secret societies founded originally to keep alive the knowledge of our existence and our intentions towards mankind. We have left you certain landmarks, placed carefully in different parts of the globe, but most prominently in Egypt, where we established our headquarters upon the occasion of our last overt, or as you would say, public appearance. At that time, the foundations of your present civilization were laid in the earth, and the most ancient of your known landmarks established by means that would appear as miraculous to you now as they did to the pre-Egyptians so many thousands of years ago. Since that time, the whole art of building in stone has become symbolic to many of you of the work in hand, the building of the human race towards its perfection. Your ancestors knew us in those days as preceptors and as friends. Now, through your own efforts, you have almost reached in your majority a new step on the long ladder of your liberation. You have been constantly aided by our watchful inspiration and hindered only by the difficulties natural to your processes of physical and moral development. You have lately achieved the means of destroying yourselves. Do not be hasty in your self-congratulations. Yours is not the first civilization to have achieved and used such means. Yours will not be the first civilization to be offered the means of preventing that destruction and proceeding in the full glory of its accumulated knowledge to establish an era of enlightenment upon earth. I guess here they mean nuclear holocausts. However, if you do accept the means offered you, and if you establish such a millennium upon the basis of your present accomplishments, yours will be the first civilization to do so. Always before, the knowledge, the techniques, the instructions have become the possessions of a chosen few. A few chose themselves by their own open-minded and clear-sighted realization of the shape of things to come. They endeavored to pass on their knowledge in the best possible form and by the most enduring means at their command. In a sense, they succeeded, but in another sense, their failure equaled their success. Human acceptance is, to a very large extent, measurable by human experience. Exceeding generations who never knew our actual presence translated the teachings of their elders in the terms of their own experience. For instance, a cross-sectional drawing, much simplified and stylized by many copyings, of one of our traveling machines became the Eye of Horus, and then other eyes of other gods. Finally, the ancient symbol that was once an accurate representation of an important mechanical device has been given surprising connotations by the modern priesthood of psychology. The important fact is, however, that we are here among you, and that you as a world race will know it before very much longer. The time is almost ripe now, but as with all ripening things, the process may not be hurried artificially without danger of damaging the fruit. There is a right time for every action, and the right time for our revelation of ourselves to your era is approaching. Some of you have seen our advance guard already. You have met us often in the streets of your cities, and you have not noticed us. But when we flash through your skies in the ancient traditional vehicles of Vimanas, you are amazed, and those of you who open your mouths and tell of what you have seen are accounted dupes and fools. Actually, you are prophets, seers, and in the true sense of the word. You in Kansas and Oklahoma, in Oregon, California, Idaho, you know what you have seen. Do not be dismayed by meteorologists. Their business is the weather. One of you says, I saw a torpedo-shaped object. Others report disc-like objects. Some of you say spherical objects or platter-like objects. You are all reporting correctly and accurately what you saw, and in most cases you are describing the same sort of vehicle. Now that the art of manufacturing plastic materials has reached a certain perfection among you, perhaps you can imagine a material almost transparent to the rays of ordinary visible light, yet strong enough to endure the stresses of extremely rapid flight. Look again at the great nebula and think of the construction of your own galaxy, and behold the universal examples of what we have found to be the perfect shape for an object which is to travel through what you still fondly remember as empty space. In the center of the discus, gyroscopically controlled with a central sphere of the same transparent material, our control rooms revolve freely, accommodating themselves to us to flat or edgewise flight. Both methods are suited to your atmosphere, and when we convert abruptly from one to the other, as we are sometimes obliged to do, and you are watching, our machines seem suddenly to appear or to disappear at our possible speeds. Your eyes, untrained and unprepared for the maneuver, do make mistakes, but not the mistakes your scientists so often accuse them of making. We pass over your hilltops in horizontal flight. You see and report a torpedo-shaped object. We pass over in formation flying vertically on edge, or we go over at night, jet slits glowing, and you see an orange disk. At an event, in any event you see us, in any event we do not care. If we choose to remain invisible, we could do so easily, and in fact we have done so almost without exception for hundreds of years. But you must become accustomed to our shapes in your skies, for one day they will be familiar, friendly, and reassuring sights. This time it is to be hoped that the memory of them passed onto your children and their children will be clear and precise, that you will not cause them to forget, as your ancestors forgot, the meaning of the diagrams and the instructions we will leave with you. If you do fail, as other civilizations have failed, we will see your descendants wearing wired diagrams for simple machines as amulets, expecting the diagrams to do what their forefathers were taught the completed article would accomplish. Then their children, forgetting even that much or little, would preserve the amulet as a general protective device, or as an intellectual curiosity, or perhaps as a religious symbol. Such is the cycle of forgetfulness. Signed, the Anunnaki. I tried to find the original source of this article to no avail, the writer says, and I find this. According to Trench, the editor, author, and publisher of the November-December 1958 issue, the original article was found in the November 1947 issue of Fantastic Stories USA, written by a pseudonym Alexander Blade. Remarkably enough, after 54 years, the Flying Saucer Review magazine, remember, of course, 1947 was the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash. So, remarkably enough, after 54 years, the Flying Saucer Review magazine is still being published, or was at least in 2010, but I have not been able to find it online. Also, in 1947, it triggers memories of the mass consciousness from the UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico. So the Syrians have, and they apparently admitted to this in 1947, been around since ancient times, and just like I've said, never left. Interesting in this article is that they, at that time, give us hints of what's to come, and they're talking about our quote-unquote liberation, and that they will be part of that. And then this, according to Brinsley Lepert Trench, editor of Flying Saucer Review magazine, an unknown person using the pseudonym Alexander Blade wrote this article, originally appeared in November 1947. And asked the question, who's Alexander Blade? According to the article, the instructions and techniques used for building these ancient traditional vehicles are within the possession of a chosen few, and based on my research, this is indeed the case. I must admit that Alexander Blade article speaks volumes, and it seems the Germans wanted to be part of the Chosen Few Club as well, and for what I've uncovered, they received vital information that eventually gave them a shot in the arm necessary to jumpstart their esoteric technology campaign, the Flying Disc Program. According to Greg Bratton's research, we are only utilizing 22 of the 64 codons in our DNA. This suggests that our DNA was genetically manipulated, most likely by the Anunnaki. If this premise is true, then imagine being able to fully access all 67 codons in your DNA. Conversely, this is the reason why the Anunnaki created us to become slaves in order to mine gold for them? It certainly explains why there is such a high demand for gold, and who the all-seeing eye is at the top of the pyramid. To me, any benevolent message from the Anunnaki would most likely have a hidden agenda to keep us subservient to them. The last thing they want to see is our DNA codons fully open. And according to research of Robert Morning Sky, our DNA is actually superior to the Anunnaki because we also have DNA of the Aku, which gave us consciousness. This is known as the gift of the feather, and is why we feel something magical when we see a random feather in our everyday lives. From the Sumerian text, we also know that the Anunnaki commingled with us, thus giving us their DNA as well. As our masters, the last thing they want you to know is that you are more powerful than they are once you figure out how to activate the remaining codons in your DNA. I've been experimenting with this and will be publishing articles in about what I'm doing to activate mine. And this is Unbended Reality. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Only support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.